of Wednesday, 10th July 2024 is hereby adopted. The last one, the official report of Thursday, 11th July 2024. Honorable members, any corrections? There being no corrections, the official report of Thursday, 11th July 2024 is also hereby adopted. We move on to yesterday, I mentioned that there was a statement to be made by one of the members. It's a very simple statement, but it's raising a very important issue. I want members to at least pay attention and make some comments. It's a statement by the ranking member on the Education Committee on some challenges being faced by the West African Examination Council. So, Honorable Member, you could make the statement now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before I make the statement, I want to do a little, two corrections. The one is on page 1, the last line. Instead of 9, it should be 19. Then the second page, second line, what is in figures should be 118 million, not 118,000. Mr. Speaker, the West African Examinations Council was established as an international organization by International Convention in 1952 with its headquarters in Accra, Ghana. To further give legal recognition to the convention, WAEC Law Act 719 of 2006 was passed by the Parliament of Ghana. By the contents of the convention, each of the 5 member countries was to establish a local or national office that was to be responsible for local examinations. Mr. Speaker, as we all know, WAEC is a non-profit making organization and therefore operates on subvention, subscriptions, and fees, both at the local and international levels. The main function of WAEC is to review and consider annually, in consultation with members, examinations to be conducted in the public interest, which must have international recognition, and to conduct such examinations as appropriate, award certificates comparable to those issued by equivalent authorities internationally. The WAEC, Mr. Speaker, at the local level, has been responsible for conducting 2 major examinations on behalf of the government of Ghana. These are the Basic Education Certificate Examinations and the West African Senior Secondary Certificate Examinations. Mr. Speaker, currently, there is a serious financial challenge facing WAEC with regard to the conduct of the 2024 WASE, post-examination activities, and the release of results. According to a press release by WAEC on 19 December, WAEC stated that the Ministry of Education was owing the Council the sum of 118 million Ghana cedis. The effect of the delay in the release of funds to WAEC is negatively affecting their mandate in several ways. WAEC has to incur high costs of conducting examinations because materials cannot be procured in bulk and in advance. Also, WAEC is unable to pay examiners in time, and it is beginning to lose experienced and seasoned examiners. Information available is that the target date of 19 December for the release of the 2024 WASE results will have to delay because examiners are threatening to hold on to their scripts if payments are not made to them on the submission of marked scripts. The biggest challenge facing WAEC, which might further delay the release of the results, is the breakdown of obsolete equipment that the council is working with. WAEC is unable to fund either regular maintenance that is required or procure new equipment. Currently, all companies that carry out regular maintenance on WAEC equipment have refused to do business with the council due to indebtedness. All equipment have gone aground, and if nothing is done immediately, the release of the results of 2024 WASE will be put on hold, and the chances of successful candidates entering tertiary institutions early next year will be affected. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I wish to urge you to invite the Ministers for Education and Finance to appear before the House and explain why government is unable to release funds to WAEC to enable it to release the 2024 WASE results on the target date of 19 December 2024, so that our children and wards are not denied the opportunity of entering tertiary institutions in January 2025. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, any comments? Yes.
Mr. Speaker, respectfully, the statement made by the ranking member on education, in my considered opinion, raises several critical issues, in particular relating to the functionality of WAEC. I've just been served a copy of the report, and I've seen the minister responsible for education just walk in, and the statement itself was calling for the House to invite the minister to respond to today's critical matters, which I think is very important. And accordingly, Speaker, I would want to suggest that because the issues raised are very relevant to the education of our children and wards, we'll accord space to the minister to come and respond to it. He's here. If he can respond to it immediately, or maybe because he's just been given a copy, if he could give in some 24 hours to come to the House, maybe tomorrow, to respond adequately to it, because I'm sure he may not be able to relate to the details of matters contained in it. I would have wished, though, that the maker of the statement, who himself is the ranking member on the Education Committee, would have delved deeper into the substance of the matter. Now, I was relating to a press release by WAEC, and I'm not even too sure of when it was done. He says it is 9th, he changes it to 19th December, and I don't know. Today is 18th December, and he says to us that he's changing the date from 9th December to 19th December. 19th December is tomorrow. So, Mr. Speaker, just to say that the issues contained are relevant, but we must accord space to the minister. As I said, he's just walked in. If he can relate to it, it will be up to him. But I think that we may have to give him some space to come and respond to it adequately. Maybe tomorrow. Mr. Speaker, thank you.
Honorable members, let me hear from the minister who just walked in, whether he's in the position to give a brief to members before I allow others to comment on it. If not, we will give him ample time to do so. Yes, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I'll need some time to review the document that has just been handed to me. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
It's just a very simple statement about WAEC being owed some money, which he put at 118 million Ghana cedis. Maybe your attention has not been drawn to it. If it's just now you are getting it, you may need some time really to inquire before you come back. But where you have only up to tomorrow when they are supposed to release the results, but without the payment, the results will be withheld. So it's a matter of urgency. What do you say to that?
Mr. Speaker, I understand how urgent this is. I'll make a call immediately to WAEC, and I will apprise the House of the developments regarding this important issue.
Yes, please, kindly do so now, whilst I allow members to make comments. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, please,
Hello.
which of us, your children are you calling?
Definitely, because of my bias, I will allow the lady to have the
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Forgive me for being, having some prejudice. It's not my fault. That's how I was brought up.
We appreciate you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, whilst we deal with this matter, I'd like to seek your permission to read a random message that is sent by a company called Serial Pin. And it's spelled SERIALNPIN. What they do is to ask people to check their results on their website. And citizens are charged 17 cedis, 50 pesos to check their results from WAEC. If WAEC is this broke, why has WAEC sublet this service to a company to make money off their backs? I receive this random message frequently, and even though I do not have a ward in any such level, it's of concern to me because my constituents have to cough this money so they can check their results. I think that it would be fair to ask the minister to also check this whilst he is on the earlier request made to him, so he can provide answers to this question that I've also added to the submission by Honorable Nochukotwe, who is the ranking for the Committee on Education. Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much for this opportunity.
Yes, gentlemen, you may go on now.
All right, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm coming in here as a member of the Education Committee. Mr. Speaker, well, we can understand Minister maybe wants to get the rightful figures. If not, I wonder why Minister should be asking for time to be able to brief this House if they have actually released money to WAEC. Mr. Speaker, before we rose and came back to Parliament, the Education Select Committee with WAEC had requested a meeting with the Ministry of Finance for us to put things in order. The past 3 years, the ranking member of Education has always gone to the media to ask that the minister releases funds for WAEC to be able to give to the markets and whatever. Before normally they will come and release half or maybe at times 3/4 before WAEC releases funds. So I'm surprised that up to now, minister is like not aware of what has been happening. Well, today, tomorrow is just some 24-hour interval. So minister should come and do the needful. I'm sure he needs rightful figures. If not, this is not the first time the ranking member is raising issues about WAEC indebtedness. Apart from that, Mr. Speaker, I have another decision here. Ghana to lose international headquarters of WAEC to Nigeria over 73 million indebtedness. Maybe minister should be adding that tomorrow if it is a true story. It's not only WAEC in Ghana being owed, even our international indebtedness to Nigeria is a trouble to have. So with this, we will leave the minister to maybe have the benefit of the doubt tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Honorable Kumakin Tamponov.
Yes, Honorable Seche Mensa Bonsu.
Mr. Speaker.
I picked some information. I want you to confirm or, no, you cannot confirm. It's the president that should do so. that you are now not Minister for Parliamentary Affairs, but Minister for Presidential Affairs. Is that the case?
Speaker, the House has every opportunity, not least a resort to right to information, to source for the authenticity of this information that you are providing. So, Mr. Speaker, the House...
So I don't have authority to ask you to confirm or deny?
Mr. Speaker, it's your right.
Yes, so I've done that.
I have to be given time to also respond.
Well, you are following the steps of the Minister for Education. You need time. Okay, we'll give you up to tomorrow.
Very well, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was just saying that all these added ons that are coming, we should be careful, especially when they are coming from members on the Committee of Education. They are sourcing information from many places, including social media, and they are saying that the minister should respond to it immediately. Mr. Speaker, we have a defined way of asking questions in this House. If you're not careful, we may dilute a lot of things in this House. The minister himself has asked for some time. And Mr. Speaker, the issues raised in the statement do not just relate to the amount that was quoted, 118 million, but the colleague related to the breakdown of some equipment and so many other things, which is why the minister is asking for time. So let's just urge him, if it is for tomorrow that he will come, to come and respond to these other matters contained in the statement. And we can move on. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, will be caught up in the web of other matters being introduced extraneous to the issue that have been raised by the honorable colleague, the ranking member on education. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honorable members, this is not question time, but it's a statement. And what has happened are just comments coming from members. That definitely is permitted. Minister, kindly take all on board and then try to clarify the situation by tomorrow. That should be sufficient because the image of our country is also at stake. We want to disabuse the minds of Ghanaians if what is being rumored in the social media is incorrect. So please, by tomorrow, you should have some evidence to share with us on this matter. With this, we move on to the next item. Presentation of papers. So, honorable members, at the commencement of public business, item 7, presentation of papers, the following papers to be presented. Yes, Deputy Majority Whip.
Mr. Speaker, we don't have papers to present, except that at the commencement of public business on page 8, item 30, the consideration stage of the Ghana Boundaries Commission Bill 2023. Mr. Speaker, I have indication that the chairman wants to withdraw and relay, and then with your leave, Mr. Speaker, if the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs and now Presidential Affairs could do that on behalf of the Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, with your leave.
Before we move there, I want to know the fate of item 8. Item 8. Item 7, if you said it's not ready, I understand. But item 8, we have the Parliamentary Service Bill, Parliament Transition Bill. I want to know the fate of them. Are we ready to present them to the House? Officially, you are saying the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs. That's what I have here. So you can go on.
Mr. Speaker, that may be an expired product.
You have not yet produced anything, and you are saying this one is expired. By the time you realize you have no position.
Yes, I'm saying that I didn't say it's an expired product. I said that may be an expired product.
So you are not even sure?
The Speaker, is up to the House to investigate further. But, Mr. Speaker, I had some discussion on these matters yesterday with the point person in Parliament on that late in the evening. So, Mr. Speaker, I would plead that we stand these down. And after the event, I think yourself, your good self, my humble self, the clerk, may have to meet on it, and then we define the way forward with respect to these two bills.
Honorable members agreed. We will defer that accordingly. And then we move on to the proposal of the Deputy Majority Whip, page 8 of the order paper, item 3030, the Ghana Boundary Commission Bill 2023 at the consideration stage.
Mr. Speaker, with respect, I want to stand in for the minister responsible for lands and natural resources. Mr. Speaker, when the bill came to be laid and got referred to the committee, it was found out that there were several inadequacies in the bill. So the committee went through it, and it became obvious that we needed to propose a lot of amendments, which have been done. And I recollect that the chairman of the committee, the ranking member, Honorable Agaga, and some others, I don't know whether the Honorable Suhini was also there. We went through and effected those amendments, which amendments are being incorporated into a revised bill. The Speaker, so on behalf of the minister and subject to the indulgence of the House, I want to withdraw the original, and then after the event, I will represent the new bill to the House. The Speaker, so I want to, on behalf of the minister, withdraw the old one. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, indeed the ranking member had kept the leadership informed of this development. And so we are quite aware of this amendment that has been done. And so, yes, we have no problem with that.
Honorable members, since the bill is now your property, I take it that you have agreed with the proposal for what is before us to be withdrawn, and maybe the one that is ready will be relayed. So you have my permission to do so.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, so I deem it that the House has agreed to the withdrawal of the bill. And accordingly, I'll submit this one, this new one, the Ghana Boundaries Commission Bill. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much.
Honorable members, in view of the urgency of this subject matter, not because of just only the insecurity of the sub-region, which I referred to in my welcome statement, but also I usually use the term the season we are in the transitional period. And this is a critical bill. So we will take it as an urgent bill, and we will grant space for the recompiled bill to be laid in the House and be considered as being granted the certificate of urgency. The processing of the bill is under the certificate of urgency for us to be able to handle it before we complete with the transition. So I so direct that the minister in charge of the bill should process it under the certificate of urgency. I think this is the understanding of the House, if I may say so.
Indeed, Your Honor, Speaker, we have no objection at all.
Yes,
Mr. Speaker, exactly so.
the House has so directed. That is under a certificate of urgency, so you may proceed to present it to the House. I can see the chairman of the committee on. Is that, where is the minister? Yes, minister will have to lay it first. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I thought I had done it earlier, but I will do so again.
Oh, sorry. Honorable members, the Ghana Boundary Commission Bill. Yes, please, you may read the title before.
An act to establish the Ghana Boundary Commission to determine and demarcate the international land boundaries of Ghana and delimit the maritime and airspace boundaries of Ghana in accordance with accepted principles of international law to secure and protect the interests of the Republic and to provide for related matter.
Honorable members, the Ghana Boundary Commission Bill 2024 now is laid accordingly and referred to the Committee on Lands and Forestry for consideration under the certificate of urgency and report to the House. Yes, please, Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, prior consultations have taken place. We have by consensus agreed on all the amendments that have now been factored into a revised bill, a copy of which has been sent to you. The committee, even before this formal referral, has met and agreed on the urgency of this bill in accord with Article 106, Clause 13. Mr. Speaker, we have even considered the new bill, and the report submitted earlier essentially holds good for the new bill, except to state that the amendment proposed earlier have been factored into this new bill, and that shall render the consideration stage of the bill very smooth. I accordingly submit.
Honorable members, the committee has been very proactive, and therefore, in anticipation of the situation, they have held meetings, gone through the proposed amendment, incorporated them into the new bill, and they have accordingly been submitted, and as he rightly stated, under the certificate of urgency. So we may proceed. You know, our rules are just guides, and we can at any time decide otherwise to make sure that business proceeds. So we can proceed to the consideration stage, since the report that was presented to the House has already been taken, and the bills have also, the proposed amendments were also considered. I just want to put it to the House so that if the House is adopting what the committee has said, then we can move on. Because the committee, that says they have gone through the proposed amendment, they agree with them, and they are incorporated in the bill. So we want that to be agreed upon by the House before we go to the third reading. Yes.
Speaker, thank you very much. Speaker, the committee's report would ensue from the second reading of, of the bill. This has been done already. I think that the House would deem the second reading to have been done, upon which then will be established the submission of, would render otious the presentation of a new report, so that we can go into the consideration stage. Mr. Speaker, thank you.
Honorable members, this is quite a new thing we're doing. Actually, we haven't done this before. But in view of the circumstances surrounding this area, the boundaries of our country, we try as much as possible to make sure that we get this one through smoothly without any legal encumbrances. And so, yes, we shall move to second reading where there will be a report for us to debate. But having heard what the committee said and the leaders, I deem it that the second reading has been done, and we'll move on to the consideration stage. And I borrowed from the submissions of the chair of the committee that once they have really gone through the proposed amendments and agreed to those amendments, in consensus, it's not a majority decision, consensus, I just put it to the House so that we could adopt that too as a consideration stage, and then we can move on to the third reading. I hope I got it right. Yes, honorable member for, sorry, the lights are, the Honorable James Agalga.
Mr. Speaker, one of your sons.
Yes, one of my good sons, not the bad ones. Yes.
Yes, so, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to confirm that we built consensus at the committee level, and so all the proposed amendments have now been incorporated into the bill, which is currently before us. In those circumstances, Mr. Speaker, I just want to add my voice that the directives given by your good self and the submissions made by the Honorable Chairman Sabonsu be adapted so that we don't spend time going through the clause-by-clause considerations as we would normally do under the rules. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, any more before I put the question?
Indeed, Mr. Speaker, what has been said is right. During the second consideration and the debates, I think the importance of this bill, especially as regards our national security, was underscored. And I think that because of that, we are all in agreement that we should proceed as you have described. I thank you. Mr. Speaker, except to say that I'm struggling to know how to call my respected former leader of the House. I was tempted to say the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs, but I've also been hearing new titles and I'm getting a little confused. I wish that we can clarify that so I can appropriately address him. I don't know. I think that's important, my good friend.
Well, we have all prompted the president to do the right thing, so if that's his decision, we want to hear it formally. Honorable members, that notwithstanding the provisions of Order 1691 and 1721, 1691 deals with the second reading, and then 1721 deals with the consideration stage. The Ghana Boundary Commission Bill 2024 deemed to have been taken through the second reading and the consideration stage of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. The Ghana Boundary Commission Bill 2024 is deemed to have been taken through the second reading and the consideration stage of the bill. We will now move on to the third reading of the bill, which is item 32 on the order paper at page 13. Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. In the absence of the minister, we will allow the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs and to be Minister for Presidential Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, Speaker, you remain in Wonderland. I'll keep you there, in Wonderland for the time being. Mr. Speaker, in the event, as you do know, motion 31 shall not be moved. So as you are imploring, I just move motion numbered as item 32. Speaker, I move that the Ghana Boundary Commission Bill 2024. So let's correct the rendition as captured on page 13 of today's order paper is Ghana Boundary Commission Bill 2024. I move that the Ghana Boundary Commission Bill 2024 be now read a third time. I so move.
Honorable members, motion moved accordingly is for the consideration of the House. Yes, any seconder?
Right, Honorable Speaker, I second the motion.
Moved and seconded is for the consideration of the House. This being the third reading, and having complied with our new rule, you know, the new rule in our new standing order says, at the end of every consideration stage, all the amendments taken and agreed upon are incorporated into the bill, printed, and copies given to members. And so we've gone through all that, and so I'll put the question. Those in favor that the bill be taken through the third reading, say aye. Those against, say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. The Ghana Boundary Commission Bill 2024, not what is on the order paper, not 2023, 2024, has been taken through the third reading and passed.
An act to establish the Ghana Boundary Commission to determine and demarcate the international land boundaries of Ghana and delimit the maritime and airspace boundaries of Ghana in accordance with accepted principles of international law to secure and protect the interests of the Republic and to provide for related matters.
Honorable members, I think we have come to the end of the processes of that bill, and the Ghana Boundary Commission Bill 2024 is passed into law accordingly. We will move on to the next item. I am told that the general who piloted the bill and is always with us is in. General Kote is in, and I want to recognize his presence. Thanks so much for all the support. Together with your members, you've done a good job, and we got it through now. All is well that ends well. Thank you. Yes, honorable members, we have another, well, let me allow the Deputy Majority Whip to put it across.
Speaker, we had agreed to consider the EPA at the third reading, but the indication was that the minister responsible for that sector needed to do some amendment. According to her, she's still on her way here. So, Speaker, we haven't gotten any clear indication since the minister is not here. And if it will please you, Mr. Speaker, we can suspend for an hour. And if the minister comes, then we can go to the third reading of the EPA bill.
Yes, please.
Madam Speaker, if you recall, we had agreed, among other things, that the public account reports will be taken. And I think that we have those reports ready. I think we should take the advantage of the time we have waiting for the EPA to work on those public account reports. I think we have 2 of them ready right now. And so I believe that we should just go, all of them are ready actually. So we can go ahead and approve them.
Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, the Deputy Minority Leader can only indicate that maybe those reports are ready and we should consider them, but it is not the case that we had agreed that we were taking public accounts reports at conclave. We never discussed that, but if they are ready now and we can take it, we don't have objection to that.
Well, honorable members, please, this is a matter that I even mentioned in my welcome statement. But it's true that it wasn't discussed this morning and agreed upon. But once we have the time, kindly let us take those reports. They are very critical reports. And it should be taken now, not left for the 9th Parliament. So there are 2 of them we can take today. Maybe by the time we finish, the Minister for Environment, Science, and Technology might be around to lead us in the final consideration stage of the Environmental Protection Bill. So, Chairman, Public Accounts Committee, you may present your report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Shall we start with motion number 21? Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that this Honorable House adopt the report of the Public Accounts Committee on the report of the Auditor General on the public accounts of Ghana, public boards, corporations, and other statutory institutions for the period ended 31st December 2022. Mr. Speaker, I present your committee's report, and I ask that I read just a portion of the report, while the Hansa captured the entire report as having been read. Mr. Speaker, this report was referred to the Public Accounts Committee for examination and report pursuant to Order 2293 of the Standing Orders of Parliament of Ghana. The committee made reference to a number of documents, and the purpose of the audit by the Auditor General was actually to consider whether the Auditor General ascertained whether all the public boards and corporations concerned had maintained proper records of books and whether accounts were prepared, well kept, and all public monies due were duly accounted for. Mr. Speaker, in 2022, the total infractions reported by the Auditor General amounted to 15,441,806 Ghana cedis. And this covers areas of outstanding debt and loans recovery, cash irregularity, payroll irregularities, procurement irregularities, tax irregularities, and contract irregularities. Mr. Speaker, the committee noted that this total amount of irregularities reported was overstated by 192,404 Ghana cedis. So the actual amount has come down to 15,059,401 Ghana cedis, 79 pesos. So, Speaker, we have a summary on the page 7 of the report, and we also did a summary to cover the outstanding issues on all the ministries, the corporations under the various ministries. So, Speaker, I go to the conclusion of the report. Once we have the report, members can glance through. So, Speaker, the committee had noted that the Auditor General had duly audited the public accounts of Ghana pursuant to Article 187 of the 1992 Constitution and Section 13 of the Audit Service Act of 2000 at 584 and Section 84 of the Public Financial Management Act of 2016 at 921. The committee therefore recommends that the House adopt this report with all the recommendations on the report of the Auditor General on the public accounts of Ghana for public boards, corporations, and other statutory institutions for the period ended 31st December 2022. Mr. Speaker, respectfully submitted.
Honorable members, any seconder? Yes, please.
I rise to second the motion, ably moved by the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, and in doing so, make one or two observations. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the report, you realize that I'm talking about report page 3. You realize that, for instance, the irregularities year after year undulates. Sometimes there's the tendency for we, the MPs, to, create the impression that the amounts involved in the irregularities is synonymous to corruption or something like that. Mr. Speaker, if you look at on page 3, item number, on the table, take for instance cash irregularities. In 2018, cash irregularities was 1.08 billion. In 2019, it dropped to 215 million. In 2020, it rose again to 1.8 billion. In 2021, it dropped to 505 million. And then in 2022, it rose again it dropped to 23 million. So I'm just asking my colleagues that in our politicking, we should not sometimes mislead the public to think that the value of irregularities is equal to or is a measure of the level of corruption in the system. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Honorable members, the motion is moved and seconded. Is for the consideration of the House. Yes. Honorable member for Dombe Kwabinya.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to comment on the report ably laid by the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee and seconded by his able ranking member. Mr. Speaker, the Public Accounts Committee, year in, year out, considers the report of the Auditor General. And the Auditor General points out certain irregularities that the institutions in question might have either omitted to do or have done in contravention with certain laws of this land. Mr. Speaker, many a times we have been criticized by the public that the Public Accounts Committee sits, we make recommendations on the floor, and there's no such power given us or given the Auditor General to surcharge. But indeed, we have those powers. The report comes on the floor, we debate it, and people think that we leave it at that. So, Mr. Speaker, I see my chairman looking at me. I have served on the committee with him since I entered Parliament in 2013. But with respect to this report, I want to refer, Mr. Speaker, to page 6 of the report, column 614, or item 614, which relates to procurement irregularities. Mr. Speaker, with your permission, it states, these irregularities occurred as a result of management non-compliance with the Public Procurement Act. Mr. Speaker, we see this every year, and we shouldn't politicize it as to whether who is in power or who is out of power. It keeps reoccurring. So what do we ask ourselves as a parliament, as a country? We have enacted laws to govern certain spheres of our operations. Why do public officers find it so difficult to comply? Mr. Speaker, when you're going for tender and
yes, Honourable Member, just a minute. Honourable Members, the second Deputy Speaker to take the chair. Yes, you may continue.
When the process of tendering begins, you are supposed to ask for or apply for certain approvals. You are not able to do it. The law even allows you the room to go for retrospective approval. You still find people, even when they've done the act, to go and formalize the act and regularize it. In the report, we are being told that we had some institutions who just did not care and think they can flout the laws of this country. Mr. Speaker, public procurement is very important in our governance process. We ought to make sure that the people put in certain institutions are made to follow the laws. Mr. Speaker, politicians are, attacked. Politicians are attacked. But when it comes to public officials, they sit in the offices. They are supposed to be meticulous and do the right things. They are the ones you find their names in the Auditor General's report. Sometimes they overpay. Sometimes they purchase from companies that are not registered with VAT and have VAT receipts. Mr. Speaker, we cannot continue overlooking these malpractices and irregularities. That must be surcharged. Those who ought to be arraigned before court for flouting the law should be put before court to face the full rigors of the law. Mr. Speaker, again on page 8, we are told in item 812 that there were huge amounts of tariff debts. Mr. Speaker?
Yes.
Okay. I thought you were asking of the motion that is being moved.
No, go on.
Okay. So again, Mr. Speaker, I draw your attention to item 812 on page 8. Mr. Speaker, a clear violation of the Public Financial Management Act 2016, Act 912. Mr. Speaker, the committee, we are told, noted huge amounts that ought to be recovered, but were not. And they have listed a number of those tariffs and the institutions that flouted the Public Financial Management Act. Mr. Speaker, I wouldn't say much. This is a very bulky report. It tells us the extent of irregularities. It's named all the institutions. I see GMPC, I see BUIDAM, the Ministry of Finance, and it goes on and on. But I think, Mr. Speaker, these things keep reoccurring because after this report is debated on the floor, we leave it at that. We need to ensure that the powers giving the Attorney General and the Auditor General to proceed and the Attorney General to prosecute is actually carried out. If it had been a politician, a member of parliament on our side or here, we'll see the outcry for them to be arraigned before a proper court for due process to take its course. But we leave our public servants and our civil servants, and they consistently and yearly flout these laws. I think that gone are the days when they refer to the Public Accounts Committee and Parliament as having the teeth that can't bite. We should start biting. And I can see that not in this report, but in another report, a reduction actually in procurement violation, because the committee ensured that the room that is provided us under the Public Procurement Act to go for retrospective approvals, we were so strict on it, go for these approvals. And we've seen that the violations are minimizing. So I end my statement or my contribution on this particular report by saying that, Mr. Speaker, whether it is overpayment of salaries, whether it's procurement irregularities or malpractices or whatever that we capture in a report, we shouldn't leave it at that. Post-Public Accounts Committee, post-debate on the floor, the committee should follow up, Parliament should follow up with the Office of the Auditor General, Office of the Attorney General. What has been done with respect to these things? Once we start prosecuting, once we start punishing those ones who commit these offenses and violate our laws, the laws that we make here, they brought us here as members of Parliament. We've promulgated laws. Whether recklessly, just decide not to follow these laws. We have to start biting. We have to start biting as a parliament and just not go and sit on the committee, come here, talk, and the next year another report comes in, next year another report. We should see the relevance of the scrutiny that we're doing and make sure that after our scrutiny, whoever ought to prosecute, whoever ought to recover these funds, whoever is clothed with the power to surcharge, must surcharge the culprits. I think that way this country will move forward. That way, the years that will go on after probably 2 or 3 years, 10 years, when we are no more in this parliament or in public space, we can boast of us being the pace setters in making sure that we don't keep repeating and coming here and repeating the same argument. I was here 2013, fresh as a member of parliament, and none of the items, irregularities captured here is new to me. It's as if every time when you pick it up, you should expect some irregularities in procurement, some irregularities with tax, VAT evasions and all that. So if we ourselves, are so familiar with it that we expect them to do, what do we have to do as a member of parliament to stop them from expecting these irregularities year in, year out? Mr. Speaker, I end my contribution, and I thank the chairman and the ranking for putting this, this report here for debate.
Thank you very much. Yes. Let me go to a Sujaman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to also contribute to this motion and to say that the honorable member for Domeko Abenya has hit the nail right on the head. Mr. Speaker, I say this because we have been going through this ritual every time. But to what end? Our public officials have become very used to this process, that, oh, we will appear before the Public Accounts Committee, we will say what we have to say. At the end of the day, a report will be generated, it will be debated on the floor of Parliament, and that will end it. If this is where we want to end the whole exercise, then we must spare ourselves of this ordeal. We must just stop the whole exercise of this Public Accounts Committee, because the fear that it used to instill in public officials has waned down. And so we must be concerned about what we do after the report has been generated and the issues have been flagged. If nothing will happen after this, then I'm afraid we are wasting everybody's time. Look at the figures here, and that is why I disagree with the ranking member's position that we shouldn't think that all these figures represent corruption and all that. It has a direct relation with corruption. Because if you look at all these irregularities, in fact, one of them, at paragraph 6.1.3, payroll irregularities amounted to 11,486,154 cedis. Payroll irregularity. And so if all these will not be resolved, Ghana is losing a lot of money. And so, Mr. Speaker, we should be interested in what happens after this report has been generated. It is very, very important. And Mr. Speaker, on paragraph 7.2, we have outstanding irregularities. And it says the committee noted that significant proportion of irregularities remain unresolved. And it goes on to say that out of 15 billion cedis, only 997 million had been resolved, leaving more than 14 billion cedis unresolved. These are huge sums of money. And if we will go through to resolve these, I'm sure we'll be able to recover a lot of money for the public. And so I want to say that we as a house need to take a firm decision on what we do after the report of the Public Accounts Committee has been presented, because ending it here is not doing any good to anybody. Mr. Speaker, finally, one way that we can ensure that all these irregularities are reduced over time is to enhance the work of the audit committees at the various MDAs and MMDAs, because audit committees have been presenting their reports, and they, in fact, every day we hear some audit committee reports being presented here, but we don't work on them. If we are able to take the work of the audit committee seriously and empower them, they will flag the issues early enough and make sure that they are resolved even before the external auditors come. And by so doing, we will reduce the irregularities to the barest minimum. And so, Mr. Speaker, I want to end here by calling on you and all the House for us to determine what we do beyond just approving the report of the Public Accounts Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, at the conclusion of the debate, the question is, as many as are in favor of the report, say aye. All those against, say no. Honorable members, the motion number 20 is hereby adopted. Yes.
The public account reports are 8 in number, and a careless glance at them, I'll have a summary of irregularities that cuts across all of them. We are proposing, with your kind permission, to allow the chairman of the public accounts to take 4 of them at a time, at once, and then allow members to make their general comments on all of those that has been taken, to allow us to move and then we can take the rest tomorrow.
Well, so can you take me through which motions? Because I could count more than 8. I don't know. So if you can take me through which motions are. Yes, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I will take motion numbered 19, 20, 22, 23, and 24. But there are about 4 reports. 19 and 20 is 1 report, and the rest 3, making it 4.
Very well. Majority leadership, that's the proposal from it. If you can hear you.
Mr. Speaker, these are entirely different reports containing different things. Speaker, and the motions to haven't listed being different. For him to, box them together will be inappropriate. We don't have any difficulty taking the motions one after the other, but to lump them up, I don't think is a good parliamentary practice.
Well. Yes, Minority Chief Whip.
Mr. Speaker, I am very surprised. Few minutes ago, our colleague was urging us to suspend. It is not out of place. We've even allowed ministers or chairmen to lay more than 1 report standing at the same time. What he's trying to do is to present 4 reports when he gets up and then stop. Then colleagues can comment on 4 of them. It is, in fact, I've not been here long enough, but this is not the first time. So I don't even know what the argument is about. Nobody is saying that you can only speak on 1. If he presents 4 reports and you want to speak on 4 of them, you can speak. In fact, my colleague, honorable member for formerly, she's an expert in that. She's commented on different reports at the same time before. So I don't know what is against the rules here or what we're going to gain by allowing him to do the report one after the other. Is there anything that would be... Mr. Speaker, it's just to save time so that we can make progress. But it's up to you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, Honorable Member for Dome Kwabenya, let me hear you. I think you have contrary view.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. When the deputy minority leaders rose, the basis for asking your leave for the ranking, the chairman of the committee to clump it together and move so members can contribute was that there are irregularities that run through all of them. But, Mr. Speaker, that is not a basis for that. Although the heading will look the same to you, procurement irregularity, payroll irregularity, but they are specific public institutions and they have their specific peculiarities, and the committee, if they were calling them on the committee to appear before the committee, I want to ask the deputy minority leader, did they clump them together at the committee level? They didn't, because each institution had specific issues that had been raised by the Auditor General that they had to answer to. So you can't say an irregularity pertaining to public institutions is the same as that for educational institutions. And so you're clumping it together because you see the irregularities are similar. I disagree. I don't have an issue when the chairman says some are certain institutions and he wants to put them under public institutions. So he wants to take it. But the Honorable Deputy Minority Leader, the basis that because the irregularities are similar or look the same, we should clump them together. No. If we can't clump them together at the committee level when they are appearing, and the chairman writes to them independently as institutions to bring certain officers to appear before the committee to answer to certain irregularities. Mr. Speaker, I don't think we should gloss over it. We should take it institution report by report, and members can contribute.
Well. Honorable Aveji.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to present a report separately. I'm not going to lump all of them together. I'll present each of the reports, and members have copies of the report. So after presenting each of the reports,
Honorable Member for Dome Kwabenya, are you listening?
You can now speak to what you have noticed. If you want to speak to all the 4 reports I'm going to present, you have the opportunity to do that.
Very well.
So I'm presenting each of the reports separately. I'm not lumping all together.
Mr. Speaker, if you actually go through the order paper, if in the case of motion, these are motions, and in the case of motion 19 and 20, they are talking about BOG. That is understandable. The chairman of the Public Accounts Committee is going to move a motion, of which that motion needs to be seconded. So if you allow boxing up all the motion, moving them, so the one who is supposed to second the motion also have to box to second them or what. We have the time here. We are not saying we are not going to do it. The time that we are wasting talking about this, start the first motion, get it seconded, and we'll all run it through.
Very well. Honorable Chairman of the committee, I think we don't need to waste time on this. We are going to limit ourselves by way of the contributions. So just do individual motions. Once you do that, there's a seconder, then probably we'll limit ourselves to 1 or 2 contributions, then we put the question on, and we move on. So
I want to support what you are saying. So apart from the person moving the motion and the seconder, 1 person from each side, then we move to the next motion.
I'll do that, but it depends on the interest. If I see that the interest is also high, I may extend it to 2-2. But
Mr. Speaker, I have no objection to that.
Come again?
I have no objection to that.
Oh, very well. So, Honorable Veggie, you may move. Which motion are you moving now?
Mr. Speaker, I'm moving motion number 19 and 20. These 2 motions have only 1 report to cover them.
Very well.
So, Mr. Speaker, I move motion number 19 and 20 on page 6 of today's order paper. And I present the committee's report. Mr. Speaker, this motion is on the foreign exchange, a statement of foreign exchange receipts and payment of the Bank of Ghana for the half year ended 30th June 2022 and for the second half year ended 31st December 2022. Mr. Speaker, the committee referred to a number of documents and invited the Bank of Ghana officials to appear before the committee. Mr. Speaker, the summary of the total foreign exchange receipts and payment for the year 2022 is as follows. For the year 2022, total foreign exchange receipts amounted to $10,754.44 million. And the total foreign exchange payments amounted to $13,959.71 million, giving a net position which is negative of $3,205,000,027. Mr. Speaker, the committee observed that as a result of the reduction in foreign exchange receipts coupled with the increase in capital payment, Bank of Ghana net position had reduced from 4.9 billion in 2021 to 3.20 billion in 2022. The overall effects of this situation may be a weaker foreign exchange reserve position for the country. This situation will further weaken the Ghanaian cedi. Mr. Speaker, when it comes to the payment side, that is progress payment to contractors. Payment made to contractors amounting to undertaking various projects in the country in 2022 amounted to $117.15 million as compared to $32.2 million in 2021. an increase of $84.9 million. Among the payment for the year under review is payment of $11.9 million to MS Power China International Group Limited as final payment for the construction of the Pologo irrigation project. The committee noted that no work has been done by the contractor at the project site after receiving the money paid to him. The committee is therefore recommending to the Bank of Ghana to recover the $11.9 million from the contractor. Mr. Speaker, the Auditor General, in his opinion on the statement of foreign exchange receipts and payment of Bank of Ghana, that they fairly presents the foreign exchange position of the Bank of Ghana for the half year ended 30th June 2022 and the full year ended 31st December 2022. Conclusion, Mr. Speaker. The committee therefore recommends to the House to adopt the report of the Public Accounts Committee on the report of the Auditor General on the statement of foreign exchange receipt and payment of Bank of Ghana for the half year ended 30th June 2022 and the statement of foreign exchange receipt and payment of Bank of Ghana for the full year ended 31st December 2022. Mr. Speaker, respectfully submitted.
Thank you very much. The ranking. Honorable Jekum.
Right to second the motion numbered 19 and 20 of the report of the Auditor General on the accounts of the receipts and payments of foreign exchange of Bank of Ghana for the year ended 30th June 2022, and the same for the year ended 31st December 2022. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, honorable members, the motion has been moved and has been presented. I mean motion 19 and 20. The report are before the House. Yes, Honorable.
Richard Achampon.
Honorable Achampon.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. So soon, you've forgotten about my name.
I was looking for the first name, Richard.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to contribute to the motion on the floor, but I want to dwell much on the page 9 and paragraph 6.8, progress payment to contractors. Mr. Speaker, if you carefully read what is stated here, let me limit myself to the Pologo issue. Among the payments for the year under review is payment of $11,949,088 to MS Power China International Group Limited as final payment for the construction of the Pologo project. Final. Mr. Speaker, the operative word is final payment. So if you have a governor of Bank of Ghana who effect a payment, final payment of a project of which no work has been done, the question is, what influenced this very decision, Mr. Speaker? What did they see? Which document did they present to them of which they effected this payment, Mr. Speaker? Something wrong has happened. And I don't see any recommendation to that effect. So the governor must be arrested. Chairman, if you presented your report, allow us to contribute. Because the governor is the head of the institution. He satisfied himself before approving all those payments.
And we are here saying final payment. Meanwhile, nothing has been done. It is not initial payment. It's not mobilization. This is final payment. And if you go to site, nothing has been done, Mr. Speaker. And we are here giving haircuts. We are here denying people their investment. And we are saying there's no liquidity in the system. But we can do $11 million to a contractor for no work done, Mr. Speaker. And we are laughing about this matter. Some people must be arrested, Mr. Speaker, to serve as a deterrent to others. So, chairman of the committee, I remember there was a time you caused arrest of an official. This time, the governor, his deputies, and all officials who had a hand in this payment must be arrested. We are not just going to recover the money. They must be arrested, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Yes. Honorable Member for Ho West.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. I also rise to add my voice to the motion before the House and comment on page 9, item 6.7 and item 6.8. Mr. Speaker, before I comment on that, I would like to commend the committee, your Public Accounts Committee, for the work done, but also to state that in their conclusion, the recommendation there simply says that we should adopt this report. Mr. Speaker, yes, indeed, we will adopt the report, but what will be the sanctions that needed to be meted to people who have caused other financial loss to the state or who are culpable of doing things that they are not supposed to do? And so, Mr. Speaker, I want to prevail on the committee not only to recommend that we should adopt this report, because adopting this report simply means that we've agreed to whatever that he has put on this paper. But quite frankly, Mr. Speaker, adopting this report that yes, indeed, there was some wrongdoing at the various ministries, departments, and agencies, it's neither here nor there. There must be a concrete decision by the committee either to ask for sanctions or either to ask for the retrieval of money that was paid to the various people. Mr. Speaker, having said that, the item 6.7, I read there that there was an invisible payment. I don't understand what is meant by there's a reduction of let me just read, Mr. Speaker, with your permission, says that there was remittance to the Ghana missions abroad for compensations and goods and services for the period under review. An amount of 94,534,928.11 USD was remitted to the missions in 2022, compared with 111,747,076.8 reported in 2021. That means that there was reduction. But, Mr. Speaker, my worry is that for that period, which represents about 8.2 of the total invisible payment. What is that invisible payment? Does it mean that there were payments that were not clearly indicated? Or, we need to understand what the invisible payment. Otherwise, then it means that somebody has invisibly sent some money somewhere that they are saying that there is a reduction in that invisible payment. Mr. Speaker, I want to also state that the item 6.8 is an indictment not only to the Bank of Ghana, but also the agencies that, Mr. Speaker, awarded a contract and also issue payment certificate. Mr. Speaker, you and I know in our profession that when it's a final payment, it's not per ultimate payment. Final certificate means that it is final. It means even retentions has been released. That is what it means. and that a total amount of over 117 million USD has been paid as a final payment. And we are here. We don't even have money to pay our staffs in Parliament. 170 million, Mr. Speaker. Somebody must be called to book. Somebody must account to the people of Ghana for this one-time use of money, which we cannot even find a single block on site. One, the consultant must be arrested. Two, the agencies that awarded this contract must be arrested. Three, the governor of Bank of Ghana must be arrested. These three people, the consultant, the agency that awarded the contract, and the governor of Bank of Ghana must be arrested immediately. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to ask that you give an instruction immediately that these three people must be arrested today, and be prosecuted before the law court. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Let me give the opportunity to the first Deputy Speaker. Yes, Mr. Speaker, you have the floor. Oh.
I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, listening to my colleagues, it makes me think that they still think that we're in the election period. We are talking about law and order in this country. We are talking about personal responsibility when it comes to criminal law. We are talking about holding people who have erred or deliberately misled the country or caused financial loss to the country to be personally responsible. What is the basis for saying arrest A or arrest B? The report does not say that any investigation has been made to identify who personally did what. We should stop playing to the gallery. It will come back to haunt us. The language on the street is different. In this chamber, who gave Mr. Speaker the power to order the arrest of anybody? The worst he can do, or the best he can do, is to refer the matter to the police to investigate, and if anybody is culpable. That is not an arrest. To investigate. And if they find that Honorable Collins Dada has done something wrong, then the Honorable Collins Dada will be arrested. If they find that Honorable Bejira had threatened to beat somebody in the chamber, then Honorable Bejira will be arrested. But we should stop using the language on the street. What we should be seen to be doing is saying that the laws that we ourselves made, every law in the country is made by Parliament. And the law is very clear on what the Speaker can do, what an investigation agency like the Auditor General can do, and what next must be done. We members of Parliament should not be seen to be the ones making statements that undermines the laws we ourselves have made. If the report says that somebody has made payments, and you must find out who recommended what. What did he look at? So how do you order the arrest of this agency or that agency or that? You should be careful. You should be mindful. Very soon, the people will pick those same languages and attack you for crossing the street and say that you have caused an accident and you should be arrested. Mr. Speaker, the report is saying that somebody has been paid for work not done. Certainly, it must have been the recommendation of an engineer, a work supervisor, or somebody who prepared the certificates. And those are the people we must investigate and confirm who in the agency did what. How do you bring in the governor? So if I steal, Mr. Speaker must be arrested. Because Mr. Speaker is the head of Parliament. So if I steal, must he be arrested? So you must investigate and confirm that. So, hey, stop this, your cadre things. You are a cadre. You are an engineer, you know who prepares what. You know who certifies for you to be paid. And if a certification is made by an engineer who is assigned to do that, should the person who pays be held responsible? Is that the law of this country? Is that the rule? What we must do is to ensure that if indeed what has been reported is what has happened, the person who did what is held accountable, and we should stop playing to the gallery. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes, let me go to Honorable John Jinapo. Honorable Bejula, this is not a banter between you.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, ranking for the Mines and Energy Committee, and as part of our oversight responsibility, I personally led a team to the Pwalugu site. Mr. Speaker, when we went there, the evidence on the ground showed that there were 2 trips of sand and 48 blocks on site. We counted it. Mr. Speaker, 48 blocks, 2 trips of sand. At that time, an amount of $11.9 million had been paid. And Mr. Speaker, when we raised the issues, the Ghana Irrigation Development Authority came and confirmed that indeed that amount had been paid, but that it was not final payment. Mr. Speaker, even more worrying is that when the facility or the agreement was being approved here, we were told that government was not going to pay any money. I recall, it's about $1 billion project. It's a multi-purpose dam, which is supposed to even help us deal with the annual flooding from the Bagri Dam. In this chamber, we were told that government was not going to pay any money. Power China has packed and left this country. They've received the money and they've left. So even if you want to hold a contractor responsible, they are no more in Ghana. But Mr. Speaker, let me agree with the First Deputy Speaker. First Deputy Speaker, this matter will be investigated. Let me confirm to you, it will be investigated. Fortunately, His Excellency President-elect, incoming President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, has already set up an oral committee chaired by the Venerable Okujeto Ablakwa. And so the way is paved. Mr. Speaker, as for the investigation, it will happen. And whoever is held or found culpable would answer for these questions. Our investigation shows that the amount is far in excess of the 11.9 million. A lot of money was paid earlier for preparatory works. This was just an additional payment. And so, Mr. Speaker, that is even why this House ought to take some of this matter serious. We raised the red flags here when this matter came. And the records will show that most of the issues the minority raised issues with, eventually they turn out to be scandalous. But Mr. Speaker, let me thank the Honorable Aveji and his team for bringing this up. They've done a very good job. They've made some recommendations. But I know that in the next administration, all those responsible for this unfortunate loss of money to the state will be held liable and they'll be held culpable. On that note, Mr. Speaker, let me thank you for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes. Honorable Comfordoyo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, to add my voice to the report of the Public Accounts Committee. Mr. Speaker, this is heartbreaking. In fact, either report or committee, these people, we should line them up for Ghanaians to see them and know them and shame them. Because why are we doing this to ourselves? Why? Does it mean they are living in a different Ghana and we are living in another Ghana?
Honorable member.
Mr. Speaker, this is heartbreaking.
Just be guided with
This is
what the first
heartbreaking.
deputy speaker
How can we
said.
pay $11 million for work no done? Please, Mr. Speaker, we are doing too harm to ourselves as Ghanaians.
Just be guided.
What we should do. I now understand how the Ghanaians voted this time. This time it shouldn't be a stronghold. It should be your performance. It shouldn't be anybody's stronghold. It should be your performance. If you are not performing well, and the whole Ghana will turn green, they should turn green. Mr. Speaker, in fact, we are not happy to hear this. And Ghanaians should not clap hands for this. Everybody should be, everybody should stand up for this and make sure we prosecute them. How can we pay $11 million for work no done and just go to the site and see 45 blocks and one trip of sand? Mr. Speaker, it's not the best. We are not happy. We are not happy at all.
Yes, I'll give you the last.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I actually rise to support the work of the Public Account Committee in the sense that there are some positives that are being disregarded. I think overall, the practices in the country are changing because of the oversight responsibility of the committee. And I can almost say that in terms of workers who take leave without appropriate documentation, some of these cultures are changing. And one key thing that members ought to know is that the quantums that are stated over the years are reducing, and then the infractions are also reducing. So I would commend the committee for its work. It's been very educative for the general public, and we must continue to hold government workers entirely more accountable. And let me also add that it is making people more aware that it is not necessarily the politicians that mismanage the funds of this country, and that some of the quantums that are lost on people who may have died and still got paid, people who may have vacated this country and left the shores and still got paid and failed to come back. So I think that I'll use this opportunity, and I'm talking not necessarily for the NPP MPs, I'm talking necessarily for all the MPs here, including Doyo and all the others, that we need to use the opportunity to let people know that many of us were not signatures to this quantum that are lost to the country. Many of us sitting here, in fact, almost 90% of us here were not signatory to the monies that appear to have been lost to the nation. On that note, Mr. Speaker, Merry Christmas in advance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, at the conclusion of the debate of motion 19 and 20 in today's order paper, the question is, all those in favor that motion 19 and 20 be adopted, say aye. All those against, say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. The motion listed 19 and 20 are hereby adopted. Yes. Honorable Virgie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Which motion are you?
Mr. Speaker, we are taking motion number 22.
22. Good.
So I rise to move that this Honorable House adopt the report of the Public Accounts Committee on the report of the Auditor General on the public accounts of Ghana for technical universities for the year ended 31st December 2022. Mr. Speaker, I present your committee's report. I'll read just a portion, but I answer to capture the entire report as having been read. Mr. Speaker, the findings of the Auditor General in his reports relate to outstanding debtors to loan recoveries, cash irregularities, payroll irregularities, procurement, tax, and contract irregularities. The overall impact of the irregularities amounted to 20.9 million Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, compare this amount with 2021, it's a reduction of about 39.9%. So in 2021, the total irregularity amounted to 34.8 million, but this has dropped to 20.9 million in 2022. Mr. Speaker, the committee have looked at the implementation status of the recommendations of the Auditor General. So out of a total of $20.9 million recovery, 20.9 million Ghana cedis, not dollars, sorry. 13 million Ghana cedis have been resolved, leaving amount of 7.8 million Ghana cedis unresolved. So the resolved percentage amount to 62.5%. So Speaker, the details of our work have been captured in the entire report, where some...
Honourable Member, hold on. It appears I don't have that report. Do members have that report?
Mr. Speaker, members should have the report, because the reports are at the back here and here, where they are sharing.
Mr. Speaker, we don't have the report. What we have is pre-university educational institutions. And that is not motion number 22.
We have that one also. But
yes, but what we have here, we don't have.
What he's doing now is technical
universities. We don't have it. Members don't have it, unless somebody else has it.
But
Mr. Speaker,
but Chairman,
I don't have it. I don't have it as a ranking member.
I don't have it.
Mr. Speaker, I think that those people who are responsible for the distribution have failed to serve you. So if we can make copies available, or Mr. Speaker, let me finish presenting, I'll pass my copy to you.
Well, but okay, Honorable, you just go on.
Very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm just reading the conclusion of the report. Conclusion. The committee recommends that management of the technical universities cited by the Auditor General should implement all the recommendations of the committees in the committee's reports and submit status reports to the committee through the Auditor General within 6 months after the adoption of this report. The committee was of the considered view that the observations and recommendations of the Auditor General fairly represented the financial transactions that took place in the technical universities in the 2022 financial year. The committee therefore recommends to the House to adopt its report, and on the report of the Auditor General on the public accounts of Ghana for technical universities for the year ended 31st December 2022, in accordance with Order 215 of the Standing Orders of the House. Mr. Speaker, respectfully submitted.
Very well. Honorable Jekum, Fantiakwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, even though I don't have a copy of the report, I'm privy to it. So I rise to second the motion of the accounts of the Auditor General on the public accounts of Ghana Technical University for the year ended 31st December 2022. I so move. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Honourable members, the motion has been moved and has been seconded. It is before the House for consideration. Yes. Honorable Member for Elmina, Commander.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. But it's Commander Edina Iguafu Abrem. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The problem is those people who have committed these irregularities sometimes are protected by the same politicians who are now lamenting. A minister comes with an agency, and the minister wants to protect that appointee. Some of them are political appointees, some may not be. But we, the politicians, we need to stop protecting these people when they come to Public Accounts Committee. I would advise anybody who becomes a minister, when these technical people come, stay on the side and let them answer the questions. Don't try to protect anybody. Then we lament on it. Now my appeal to the Attorney General. There are so many recommendations sent to the Attorney General for prosecution. He hasn't done it. I don't know what the Attorney General is waiting for. Now, if we don't prosecute these people, when are they going to stop? This blame game has to stop. Politicians, stop protecting those who have committed these crimes. Look, what goes around comes around. Paying for stuff for no work done. Mr. Speaker, we need to look at ourselves in the mirror. There's nobody to blame but ourselves. Let's hold these people accountable. Let's hold them accountable. And rather stop calling ourselves names. If you don't do your work well as a minister, don't come and protect these people. As for the Attorney General, the least said about him, the better. But I hope and pray that with this new administration coming, we'll do a better job prosecuting those people who have committed these crimes. I think we need to serve notice to those people who are committing all these crimes. There's a new sheriff in town. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, let me give the opportunity to Honorable Techi Manson-Kwanta.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. It is very important for members of this House to consider the professionality of auditing and the aspect of investigation. If you look at the reports, you will see at some session, for example, the tertiary report, you have the purpose of audit. With your permit, Mr. Speaker, I may read this so that it will guide us as to how we comment on some of these issues. The audit was undertaken in accordance with Article 187 of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, which mandates the Auditor General to audit the accounts of all public offices and report to Parliament. The purpose of the audit was to enable the auditor to express an opinion on the level of compliance of the operations and activities of the technical university as expressed in their financial statement for the year ended, so forth. Mr. Speaker, auditing is about expressing opinion by looking at internal controls of the institution, by looking at the regulation governing the body, by looking at the laws and other things that ensure that the institution is operating within law and within the limits of its controls. Any irregularity means that some laws or regulations were not complied with. It may not involve necessarily the movement of funds. It may be that because some omissions were made in terms of the law. Therefore, the report will capture it and the auditor may express his opinion. On that basis, you may be very careful to conclude that there is a fraud or there is a criminal action. when there is that opinion expressed, it will be the Auditor General who may state that for this gross misconduct, it may call for investigation. So auditing is separate from investigation. When the auditor has established that in prima facie case, there is a connotation of fraud, then it calls for investigation. It is upon the investigation that will establish either fraud has been committed or crime has been committed. So on this basis, the Auditor General report that we are looking at should not construe that crime or fraud has been committed, but rather expression of opinion. If the House believes that there is anything like fraud or criminal act conducted somewhere, we should investigate the matter to establish that one. So I may want to express my opinion to the House and the public that the work of the Auditor General and its recommendation are expression of opinion. It doesn't conclude on criminality or fraud unless it's called for that act of investigation to establish the fraud and the criminal act so that we can pursue from there. On that, Mr. Speaker, thank you. Let us go by this and ensure that professionalism is being upheld in this House and elsewhere. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, why is it that no, Honorable Virginia, I haven't called you.
Mr. Speaker, I just want to just permit me a minute. I think that when we make such comments, we are in a way encouraging the public and civil servants to continue to misbehave. In fact, if you read the report, we have realized or we captured in the report that the issues that have been resolved, if it is resolved at the committee level, that ends the matter. There are unresolved portions which must be dealt with. So, as he said, nobody is taking the Auditor General report as a final conclusion. It comes to Parliament. The committee called the officers involved. Then, find out from them action they have taken. If the issue is resolved, we end it there. If the issue is not resolved, we bring it here with a recommendation. That is what we are doing here. So the point he's raising cannot be accommodated at this time because the resolved ones, we are not talking about that one. The unresolved ones are the ones that are outstanding. And in fact, we have made several recommendations for the Attorney General to prosecute the people, and that if the people go and clear themselves at the court, that ends it. So nobody is taking cane to just go and lash anybody based on the report of the Auditor General. There are processes that we are being followed. So my colleague, I don't think that I think that what you said is not the proper thing to do at this time. Thank you.
Honorable, I'll come to you. I just listened to Honorable Techi. I have to go here. He was just giving, no, Aveji is the chairman. He just wanted to clear it. So let me give. Yes, Honorable Boribamboy.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very grateful for this opportunity to contribute to this report. But before I continue, let me add my voice to the correction that has been made by the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee. I think that my colleague on the other side didn't get things right. The mandate of the Public Accounts Committee is clearly stated. Ours is to look at the reports and make appropriate recommendations in the reports to be submitted to this House for us to debate and then agree on the way forward. I think what I want to say is that we have many reports that we have made recommendations, and in some cases we expect that some prosecution will be done. And as I speak to you, nothing is being done about that. And that for me is the concern that this House should find a way of ensuring that recommendations that we make here don't just go to rest on the shelves, but rather we are able to push them through so that people who are found wanting will be prosecuted to ensure that the irregularities that we see on annual basis are reduced. Mr. Speaker, making reference to the particular report that we are discussing, with specific reference to Koforidua Technical University. It is not only the university that is found fault for this particular problem. Many universities have lands, and these lands are not registered. And so you have a situation where individuals encroach on these lands. And then the university land is taken over by individuals. Government wants to expand the university, and there's no land for them to build infrastructure on. And so I want to suggest that universities and other government institutions that have land, it should be a policy to ensure that all these lands are registered and that they have land titles. If not, what is going on is scary. It's not only limited to only this university, but many, many other government institutions that do not have certificate to cover their lands, those lands are being encroached upon. And I think that is one of the issues that comes up regularly in our discussion. The other issue that I want to talk about is the fact that some institutions fail to register their vehicles. A very common exercise where you're supposed to register your vehicles in accordance with government policy, and you have some institutions, in my own opinion, deliberately ignoring this policy in order that they are able to use their vehicles for their private activities. We all know that government vehicles are registered with some specific colors, green colors, numbers. Now, if you don't register it with the numbers and you take it for funerals and other things and weekends, how are we going to determine that this vehicle is a government vehicle? And so policymakers and governments, we should ensure that all government vehicles are registered appropriately. If not, we will continue to see an abuse of the use of government assets. Now, another very important issue that came up is abandoned projects. This cuts across. Get funds, when we met with them, we're told that those projects, some even dated 2017. And that for me was not an excuse. If you have a project that you inherited from a previous government, the onus is on you to ensure that that project is completed before you continue with another project. But you leave those ones, and then you go ahead to come up with new projects. Even those ones, you are not able to complete them. And once you delay it, the repercussion is that there will be an added cost, and it becomes difficult for government to now get this added cost to be able to complete the project. The usage of the project becomes a problem, and all of that. And so the good news is that the president-elect in his manifesto has promised that abandoned projects will be completed. And that for me is something that we should applaud him for and ensure that these promises that he has made, we all collaborate and help him to do it. There shouldn't be a situation where we are asking for details or information on projects that have been abandoned, and it will be difficult to get those information. I think that those are issues that we should look at, and the president-elect is in the mood to ensure that projects that are abandoned are completed. And if he's to do that, I know Ghanaians will be happy with him. They know his worth, and they know that he's capable of walking his talk. On this note, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Yes. Honorable Member for Dome-Kwabenya.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I wish to comment on the statement and on the report that is ably laid by the chairman relating to technical universities. Mr. Speaker, respectfully, I want to refer you to page 6 of the report. Item II, and it reads assets without ownership of documents. And I want to take that together with another item that was identified as an irregularity and by the Auditor General that was considered by the Public Accounts Committee, which is on page 22 of the report. Page 22 of the report, and the heading is University Lands with No Title Certificates. Mr. Speaker, I want to state that this is a very serious issue that we ought to look at as a country. If we need to establish or create legal departments in these universities to take care of that, it is very important. You would be amazed that many of our schools at all levels are sited on properties or lands that has no proper documentation. And I must state on authority again and state on record that this keeps reoccurring in the Auditor General's report as an irregularity, dating from years back, since at least I entered Parliament in 2013. So what are we doing? In these universities, in these schools, are we leaving the registration of these documents and registration of these lands to the school heads, or we'll just sit on consent? A lot of our schools are on lands that have been encroached upon. And they cannot take legal action, mainly because they don't even have title to the land, for starters, to even have locus in any court to challenge whoever is encroaching on these lands. And these are lands for public purpose, lands for schools, for universities, for our young ones and our little ones that are coming up. And I think that if you look on page 8, the value that is, no, on page 22, Mr. Speaker, the value that is put on these lands is huge. The value, and we know that property appreciates over the years. And so the more acreage you have, the more land size you have, every year you have an accrual on it. So if we don't have title, we don't take the pain to register these lands, when there's need for expansion, then the issue rises again. We need land, we need land. But we go to our traditional leaders, our chiefs and all that, and actually beg for these lands. And most of the times, they give it out willingly. So I think that as a country, moving forward, the civil servants that are working in these institutions, the public servants that are working in these institutions, if there's a need to engage more lawyers to carry out that duty for them, it will be very useful to us as a country moving forward. So, Mr. Speaker, these are the two observations that I wanted to comment on this report, which has to do with protecting what is due us so that we can progress in terms of developmental projects in the area of education. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Well. The last one, let me give it to Honorable Comfordoyo.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I'm on my feet to react to Honorable Techi Manson Kwanta MP.
But that one has already been reacted to.
Mr. Speaker, nobody should speak big English.
Honorable Doyo,
when it comes to corruption.
Honorable Doyo, I think what he said was a general understanding of audit.
So what I'm saying is about $11 million paid to a work not done. Now, nobody should speak big English to do a cover-up. We don't want to hear that. Ghanaians should know $11 million have been paid, 11 million plus have been paid to a contractor. And for work not done. Not done.
Honorable Comfort, hold on.
So this
Comfort
payment that has been made, there should be no big English to do a cover-up. So they should allow the process to work. We should take them on. That's all.
Mr. Speaker, I think we should discourage leaders from taking the house back. A decision has been taken on that matter already.
what is being discussed now has nothing to do with that issue. It's either an opportunity to be heard or deliberately pushing the House back. So, Speaker, I urge you to rule him out of order and have all those comments taken off the record. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Doyo, with respect to $11.9 million, that report has already been adopted. With respect to Honorable Techi's comment, I think it was a general comment he made, but the chairman of the committee has addressed it. So please, let's understand ourselves and move on with that. So,
I'm not making a comment about this, Mr. Speaker. I'm just timing how long we took to do this. Mr. Speaker, you initially said depending on the interest you will allow.
So this one I had the interest, so yes, that's why I allow some.
If this becomes the standard, Mr. Speaker, we haven't even done half of this. We may be here beyond 6 o'clock.
Very well. Very well. So, honorable members, at the conclusion of the debate, motion listed 22 in today's order paper, the question is all those in favor of the motion being adopted, say aye. Are we hungry or angry? All those in favor of the motion say aye. All those against say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. The motion listed 22 in today's order paper is hereby adopted. Yes, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm taking motion number 23. Mr. Speaker, I rise that this Honorable House adopt the report of the Public Accounts Committee on the report of the Auditor General on the management and utilization of the District Assembly's Common Fund and other statutory funds for the year ended 31st December 2022. Mr. Speaker, I present your committee's reports. Mr. Speaker, the total infraction or irregularities reported by the Auditor General amounted to 53.5 million Ghana cedis. At the time of the committee's meeting, 22.5 million Ghana cedis had been resolved, leaving an outstanding amount of 31 million Ghana cedis unresolved. The committee made a number of observations and recommendations. The first one is that overutilization of the common fund on recurrent expenditure. So, Speaker, the committee noted that most of the entities or the assemblies, especially in this report, 21 of them, exceeded their threshold for administrative expenditure and misapplied a total amount of 7.09 million Ghana cedis of the DACF fund on payments of recurrent expenditure, contrary to Part 1 of the 2019 guideline for the utilization of the DACF. So, Speaker, at the time of the public sitting, it was revealed that a total amount of 3 million had been refunded by 13 assemblies, leaving a balance of 4 million in the name of 15 assemblies. And these have been captured in the report. The committee noted that the overutilization of the DACF is as a result of the failure of the assemblies to generate sufficient revenue to meet their recurrent expenditure. Most of the assemblies blamed the inability to generate sufficient revenue to refund the previous overutilization on the government directive to suspend the collection of property rates over the period under consideration. The committee noted that the directive has adversely affected revenue mobilization in the assemblies. Mr. Speaker, the committee further noted that government has since reversed the directive. In view of the committee, in view of this, the committee recommends that total amount of 81 million being overutilized DACF should be refunded by the 15 assemblies involved. In fact, 8.1 million. Mr. Speaker, recommendation. To forestall the recurrence of this, the committee recommends that the Ministry of Finance should put a quota caveat on the Give Me platform to prevent the excess spending of the common fund on recurrent expenditure. Mr. Speaker, the next one is uncompleted projects. Mr. Speaker, a number of projects are outstanding which have not been completed, yet the assemblies keep on awarding new projects. A number of them have also been completed but are not being put to use. Conclusion. The committee's deliberations reveal weaknesses in the internal control system and blatant disregard to Public Financial Management Acts, Public Financial Management Regulation, as well as procurement laws, among others. The committee therefore recommends to all the MMDAs to uphold and act in accordance with the Public Financial Management Regulations, as well as the procurement law of the Republic of Ghana. The committee was of the considered view that the observations and recommendations of the Auditor General fairly represent the financial transactions that took place in the Metropolitan, Municipal, and District Assemblies in the year 2022, and therefore recommend that the House adopt the reports of the committee on the report of the Auditor General on the management and utilization of the District Assembly Common Fund for the year ended 31st December 2022, in accordance with Order 2151 of the Standing Orders of the House. Mr. Speaker, respectfully submitted.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Yes, Honorable Yekum.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion that this House adopt the report of the Auditor General on the accounts of public accounts on the utilization of this Assembly Common Fund and other statutory funds for the year ended December 2022. The Speaker, I'll make a few comments on the report. Mr. Speaker, one area of concern is a situation where assemblies complete most of their projects, but for petty things like electricity connection, water, and sometimes even security, they are not able to enter and utilize these projects. The Speaker, 33 assemblies had completed their projects for a total amount of 7.1 million at the time of the Auditor General visited them. And these projects have not been connected to electricity, water, and other petty things. We recommend that assemblies budget properly in their projects so that these matters don't delay the use of completed projects to the detriment of the communities that need them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Honourable members, the motion listed 23 has been moved and seconded. It is before the House for consideration. It appears we are all in agreement of the motion. I'll go ahead and put the question. And the question is, all those in favor that motion listed 23 be adopted, say aye. All those against say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. The motion listed 23 is hereby adopted. Honorable Chairman, can I take your last report? Because I was made.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, for the day.
I was made to understand that you were going to take 4.
Yeah, this is the last one for the day.
Very well. So let's hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is motion number 24. So, Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that this Honorable House adopt the report of the Auditor General, report of the Public Accounts Committee on the report of the Auditor General on the accounts of the district assemblies for the IGF for the year ended 31st December 2022. So, Speaker, this is the IGF report of the assembly. So, Speaker, the Auditor General's report on the financial year ended 31st December 2022, which covered 261 MMDAs, found that out of a total of 261 assemblies, including the newly added Guan district, 2 assemblies delayed in the submission of their financial statement by the statutory deadline of 28 February 2023. These defaulting assemblies are Share Osudoku in the Greater Accra region and Central Tong in the Volta region. The Auditor General was guided by the International Standard of Auditing, the International Standard of Supreme Audit Institution, and Section 13 of the Audit Service Act to make his recommendations. Auditor General observed various deficiencies and laxities in the undertaking and admission of the assemblies. The report further exposed prevalent non-compliance with the relevant frameworks, laws, regulations, as well as lapses in respect of management and monitoring processes. Mr. Speaker, the total value of irregularities amounted to 19.9 million Ghana cedis. And now this represented an increase of 49.2% of the 2021 figure of 13.3 million. Now, the irregularities covered cash irregularities, payroll, assets and stores management, statutory tax and deductions irregularities. And those are the areas covered by the irregularities. The status of implementation of the Auditor General report and recommendations are captured in the report. So I'll go to the conclusion. Mr. Speaker, the committee, having carefully reviewed the report of the Auditor General and held public hearings with the management of the various assemblies, noted laxity and weak internal control systems in administration of the assemblies. These lapses have resulted in the recurrent breaches of the financial management rules and regulations. The committee hereby recommends that to the House to adopt its report. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Yekum.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second motion numbered 24 on today's order paper. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, honorable members, the motion has been seconded. The document is now before the House for consideration. Yes, honorable member for Ho West.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me also add my voice to the motion and contribute accordingly. Mr. Speaker, your committee's report, page 3, 2 of our district assemblies, that's the Shai Osudoku in the Greater Accra region and Central Tone, have been cited as defaulting assemblies who were given a deadline, but they have defaulted. And as at the time that I'm sure the committee met, they have still not redeemed their name. Mr. Speaker, we must place this on record that district assemblies that have defaulted in redeeming their name or whatever that has been asked to do and they've not done it, we should name and shame them, more especially the heads of those institutions, the DCs and the Director of Finance and DCDs. They should be named and shamed. Not only name and shame, but they should also face the laws of the land. Since we have financial irregularities in those institutions and they have refused to redeem their name, they have to face the full rigors of the law. Mr. Speaker, having said that, I've also noticed that on page 11, item 9.4, failure to serve bond term after study leave. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 680,142 cedis has been identified as people who took facilities, who were given study leaves, but they refused to return and pay those amounts. And the recommendation from this, from the Auditor General to the head of civil service was that they should recover the total salary and scholarship grant from them. Mr. Speaker, I don't think that has been done. And the names of the people has been also mentioned on page 11 and page 12. Mr. Speaker, this has been ongoing over the years. Students or workers take facilities, they apply for study leave, they are given study leave, and as soon as they get an opportunity to go through schools and then finish, they decide to look for a greener pasture. They decide to go to other institutions for a better condition. And then forgetting that the taxpayers' money was used in taking care of them. Mr. Speaker, we should not only mention their names by citing them, but they should be sent for prosecution. I still want to maintain the fact that if you go against the law must come after you. If you are supposed to pay back or at least serve a bond and you've not done that, we must use the law to get to them. Mr. Speaker, having said that, I support that this report be adopted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable Member for Futu and Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I humbly seek your leave to interrupt the proceedings and proceed again with your leave under Order 93 of the rules of this House to make all in an important point for our consideration as a House. Mr. Speaker, it has come to my attention through a press statement signed by an MP-elect and a known political figure, Honorable Mr. Felix Kwachio Fosu, and this is what he says.
preparatory team towards President-elect's anti-corruption drive. And this statement lists the following members, one of whom is a member of parliament. Honorable Samuel Okujeto Ablako as chairman, Honorable Daniel Domelovo, former Auditor General, COP retired Nathaniel Kofi Boache, Mr. Martin Kwebu, private legal practitioner, Mr. Raymond Archer, investigative journalist. And the mandate given, as per what the Mr. Kwacho Fosu is saying, is that these individuals are supposed to gather information on supposed suspected acts of corruption. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to this, there is lawlessness taking place in our country. People are entering homes and harassing people. Mr. Speaker, what happened on the 7th of December was not a coup d'etat. It wasn't a revolution.
Honorable Leader.
Mr. Speaker, let me finish. I've sought your leave. Mr. Speaker, I've sought your leave. It was an election that you have won. The lawlessness must cease. No,
Leader,
let me finish.
I'm going to give you the opportunity.
Very well.
But
Mr.
let
Speaker,
me finish
very
with the
well.
motion. There's a motion.
Very well.
There's
This
a
is
motion.
a country of law. We will not
Leader.
allow and entertain this.
Leader,
Very well,
there is
Mr.
a motion on the floor. Let me finish with the motion.
Very well, Mr. Speaker.
Then you can come
Very
by order
well.
93,
93,
please.
very well. I agree. No problem.
I thought you were going to contribute to the motion.
No.
That
I
is
said
why.
I'm seeking your leave.
Then you
interrupt proceedings.
let's finish.
Yeah.
Leader.
Mr.
Leader.
Speaker.
Kindly allow me
Very well.
to
Mr.
finish
Speaker.
with the motion.
Mr. Speaker, I
then
agree.
I'll give you the
Mr.
opportunity.
Speaker, I agree. We will hold your feet to the fire. We will not allow lawlessness.
Honorable
Mr.
Leader.
Speaker, that is so. It's okay.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members.
Mr. Speaker, the only lawlessness in this house currently is when the leader of the house, who was not in the chamber most of the day, enters the chamber, grab the mic, and starts speaking about something which is not on the floor. In fact, you were dealing with a motion. The only lawlessness and witness right now is you, the leader, jumping to the house when you were not here for the rest of the day to actually spring an irrelevant issue here. Mr. Speaker, I direct you to stop this lawlessness by the leader opposite. This lawlessness must not be tolerated.
Honorable Leader, I think I admitted him because I thought he was going to contribute into the motion. But now that we realize he was doing something else, we have stopped. So please, the motion is before us. We will continue with the motion. Honorable members, motion 24. Honorable, are you going to contribute to the motion?
Mr. Speaker, he said certain things and he must be
Honorable
made to
Mahama,
withdraw.
we will probably come to that.
No, he must be made to withdraw, Mr. Speaker, because what he has said has become part of the records of this House. Mr. Speaker, these are very serious matters. Please, Mr. Speaker, let him withdraw what he has said. Since we all agree that what he said
Leader,
has nothing to do with
Leader,
the
I'll
matter
give you the
that was
opportunity.
before
So
Please
table
withdraw.
records.
Withdraw.
Records.
No, Mr. Speaker.
I'll give you the opportunity.
Mr. Speaker,
Leader.
he has to withdraw what he has said. Mr. Speaker, you can strike out from the records what he has said.
Leader,
you don't need
I'll give you the opportunity to tell us whatever you feel.
Mr. Speaker,
Leader.
he has to withdraw.
Leader, allow me.
He has to withdraw.
Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I'm saying that he has to withdraw.
Leader, withdrawing and giving you the opportunity to tell us same opinion is so please table.
Mr. Speaker, when I rose, I said, I am seeking your leave to interrupt proceedings, to come under Order 93. The leave was granted. I have made my point. You have said that, notwithstanding, I should wait when it is done. Mr. Speaker, so that rests the matter.
Well. So, Honorable Ayaga, I think I granted the leave. So we will come back to it. For now, let's continue with the motion. And when we are finished with the motion, probably we can deal with whatever he said. Please. That is my directive. So let's continue with the motion. Yes. Honorable members. Yes, honorable member for K2 South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to ask your education on what I'm going to say, and then you may please give me a response. It is to ask, as a member of the committee, the Public Accounts Committee, I see that at the sitting of the committee, the Auditor General's representatives sit with us, and then individuals who have been cited are called to respond to issues. When that is done, and the committee has presented its report as has been done today, I want to know whether the Clerk of Parliament is not supposed to follow up on the recommendations to the institutions that supervises this. And if it is so, has it ever been done, and what were the responses? Because really, from all that has gone on today, on the motion that have been tabled, the reference has been made that this is a recurring thing. And so if it's recurring and we're not seeing any progress and redress and or repercussions to bad behavior and the seeming corruption that has been captured in their reports, why would we expect that there will be a different dance to this same music that is being played, Mr. Speaker? I need your guidance and your education on this. Thank you.
Very well. Honorable Jifa, I think whatever is transpiring here is a judicial notice to the Attorney General's Department. I think whatever we are recommending here, they should pick it up and look at the criminal content in it and take it up. I think as to why the clerk is officially not writing to the Attorney General to pick the prosecutory So, like I'm saying, whatever is done here is a judicial notice, and I believe the clerk always also forward their recommendations to the Attorney General's Department. So it is up to the Attorney General's Department to pick it up and do what is necessary for the country. I don't know whether I've answered you, but I think that is it.
I can only appreciate the comments that you have made on it, but I'm sure that it gives room for us to take a good look at what the committee is supposed to do and the effects thereof. But I thank you very much for your comments, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. So, honorable members, at the conclusion of the debate on motion listed 24, the question is, all those in favor that the motion is adopted, say aye. All those against, say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. The motion is hereby adopted. Yes, leadership.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the adjournment of the House.
You move?
For the adjournment of the House.
Yes. Honorable members, there is a motion to adjourn the House. Minority leadership.
Motion for adjournment. Thank you.
Very well. So, honorable members, before we finally adjourn, I think tomorrow, per the agreement of leadership, tomorrow the House
Madam Speaker, let me say this for the record. We are sure that the minister responsible for the EPA bill was coming in with 2 amendments, so we could take that today. I thought it was important that before you adjourn the House, we know exactly what happened to that information before we leave.
Yes, Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I'm reliably informed that some minority members had raised some serious matters, and as a result, the minister would want to do some further consultation. 2, the minister, I'm told, that the minority members, I don't mean minority MPs, the members of the transitional team on the NDC side want to have an opportunity to do some interrogation of the bill. So she's actually in consultation with them. If as it were, the NDC side of the transition team have no objection to this bill, Mr. Speaker, I would want to hear from the minister, because she is the sponsor of the bill. So I am yielding to her, because this is the information she gave me, that the new government wants to understand the import of the bill. If the minority leader, the deputy minority leader, has information that his side is okay with the bill, same can be communicated to me so that we would take action on it. Thank you, sir.
Madam Speaker, it's something that we have to check. As we speak right now, we do not have that information from the transition team, but we will check. But while I have the floor, let me say that the Honorable MP for K2 South had brought a statement on the brutalities that occurred in the border constituency, and the minister responsible for Interior, I think Interior, was supposed to come with a response. I think the deadline for that response has not come. I think I'm reminding the leader to try to reach out to the minister so we can get that done tomorrow.
Well.
Mr. Speaker, the application to me through you has been well received, and especially when the language and tone is that of statesmanship. Mr. Speaker, when people are aspiring to be ministers, their postures change. When people begin to aspire to become ministers, the way they talk, their tone, their language, because they know they are going to face vetting. So now they say this and that. Mr. Speaker, we know, because they know they have some ministerial appointment pending, but you are going to be over 170. Only about 20 of you are going to make it to the ministerial list. The rest of you will be redundant. We wonder what you will get for your constituents, how you would ensure development. Apathy is staring at your faces. Apathy is staring at your
Honorable
faces.
Leader.
Mr. Speaker, you can shout. You come to the vetting. I will meet you there. You shout. Start fighting me.
Honorable Leader.
You come for vetting. You, if you won't be calm, start fighting me. Mr. Speaker, you haven't called the deputy minority leader. I'm on the floor. The rule requires that he must catch your eye. And the aspiring majority leader must take it easy. The way he is advertising himself. I know Honorable MP for Akati South is also aspiring to be a minority leader. And I know Roxin Defiamepo is also aspiring. I know Muntaka is aspiring. Now the man is overtaking you. Every now and then he wants to be a de facto leader. You have your leaders, then you do intervention from behind. Why? You sit down, your leaders are speaking. Mr. Speaker, there's a motion, it's been seconded, just adjourn and let's have peace.
Honorable members, I have information for you. So just resume your seat before I adjourn the House. The information is that tomorrow, God's willing, we will be sitting in our chamber tomorrow we'll be sitting in our chamber at 10 o'clock in the forenoon. So the House is accordingly adjourned to tomorrow, 10 o'clock in the forenoon.
I wanted to say that the race for minority leadership is not over. It's not over yet. So stop pretending as if it's automatic. You are still in a tight competition.